Hello everybody! Welcome to another episode of AndersMill. Who knows what episode this is at this point. Between being gone so long and then my last two episodes being live on YouTube, I honestly don't know. I think I might be in the 30s somewhere. But thank you for joining me today. My name is Emily. My online name is AKA Millie. And you can find me on Instagram as AKA Millie907 and on Ravelry as AKA Millie. So that's M-I-L-L-I-E. And this is my channel. So my YouTube or just my vlog, period. Okay? In which I share my creative endeavors, what's going on in my life to a certain extent. And just maybe some random thoughts I have. Deep thoughts. I got my nails done this week, and I decided today I didn't care if I clashed with my clothing. I was going to match my nails with my eyeshadow. So there you go. I'm matchy-matchy. Yeah. It's a weird day. It's typical for Oregon weather. It's kind of cloudy, overcast, and a little bit chilly. But I'm really looking forward to today. My dad got into town this morning. My mom's been in town for about a week, come Sunday. And so this afternoon, we are all going to go bowling and then go get some good, well, my dad's probably going to get lasagna, but I'm going to get probably just some noodles or something, but Italian food, and then hang out with the grandkids over at my brother's house and maybe play a few board games. We kind of tend to do that when we're all together. So that'll be really fun. And my mom came into town while I was gone at my knitting retreat last weekend. And then, so I was really glad to see her when I came back in town. That was really nice. She accompanied me to a bunch of doctor's appointments earlier this week, and then we have had a little bit of fun here and there. We went up to Astoria one day, and then yesterday we went to the Fine Arts Museum here in Portland and spent quite a few hours at the museum, which is really lovely. I love going to museums with my mom because she is more of a quiet type. So she doesn't sit there and have to chat about everything that she sees. And I'm more, and when I'm in a museum type setting, I'm more contemplative than chatty. And I've noticed in the past, sometimes I go with people and they just want to talk about everything they see. And I'm like, I don't want to. I mean, yeah, once in a while I want to discuss something pretty interesting, but most of the time I want to just contemplate, examine things myself, think about what they mean to me. And I did see quite a few things yesterday that I liked. I wasn't as impressed with the showing as I was, say, in Chicago, but you know, who could be? Chicago's Metropolitan Museum is astounding. And so they did have a few Picassos, or actually one Picasso, and it was a very, very lesser known. Actually, my mom was surprised. She was like, oh, that's a Picasso. And then there was a lot of artists that we were just completely unaware of, having ever even heard of. I can't remember their names off the top of my head, but one artist really did strike me. And I took a picture of, it's now my background photo on my iPhone, but it was, oops, not video, photo. Let's see. It was, if I can zoom in, by Theo van Rysselberg. I don't know if it's gonna. And then the image is this. And I love the colors, everything about that. It's just, you know, the tide coming in, I think, is what he called it. Ebb tide or something like that. And I just love it so much. And then we did see, oh crap, I didn't take that. Anyway, and then I did find one image of a lady knitting, and I posted it on Instagram last night, and I knew I was going to be wrong, but I was saying that she was knitting Portuguese style, and I knew that there was the kind that went around your neck, but I couldn't think of the style that she's knitting. But if you notice, she's got it anchored in her arm, and actually that's cottage Irish knitting or something like that. It's the kind that the Yarn Harlot knits. And you can see she's a thrower. And so it was really interesting to see that. So I had a really good time in that way. And but the knitting retreat is really probably what you guys want to know about. I'm sitting here talking about going to the museum because that's what's all in my head right now. But so the knitting retreat occurred last weekend. It was in Lincoln City, Oregon, and it was hosted by the lovely Kay Hopkins, who is a designer on Ravelry, and she's local to me. And her design company is called Knit for the Soul, and it's absolutely wonderful. Everything is very calming, you know? And the process of knitting it is also very calming and contemplative, and at the same time, she uses techniques that are astounding. And I was unaware of all of this because I had never knit anything of Kay's. She'd befriended me and invited me to come to this retreat, and I was like, dude, yeah, I'm coming. I don't care, I haven't knit any of your stuff. But once there, I cast on for her leaves sweater. Leaves shell. There we go. And she calls it a shell because it's more of a summer top. And I cast on for that while I was there, and I was just mesmerized with it. And I loved seeing the progress of other people going on about how far they were getting on the different projects, and talking about all the different construction that she was doing. And she was in the midst of planning a new sweater. And it was so fascinating to see her mind at work. And she was describing what she was doing, and the construction was like just crazy cool. And I just can't wait for that sweater to come out. But, you know, I can't talk about it obviously because, you know, she's in the midst of designing it. But just know that her sweaters are really amazing. And her shawls, she uses really cool constructions on her shawls too. So there was a few people with some finished objects of her shawls and people working on them. And some people were test knitting one that's coming out soon. That's in brioche, and I can't wait for it to come out. Oh, I don't know. I learned this weekend how to brioche, and I kept on teasing Kay. I was like, you really want me to knit this now, don't you? You really want me to I'll test knit it for you. And she just gave me this look like, I know what you're doing. You just want to get going on this one now. It was amazing. So it was really relaxed. We actually really didn't have really anything planned. We planned out who was going to be in charge of which meals. And then we had planned that the first night we'd do some get to know each other games, which was hilarious. And then we had tentatively planned to go out to dinner on Sunday, but honestly didn't happen because we were just all so content just to stay and bunker down in that house that was right on the beach. Literally, we went down some steps down the cliff face and we were on the beach. And so every morning I woke up and I took a walk along the beach by myself. And then I came back and I wrote in my journals. And yes, I have multiple journals. I write in 3 every day. And it's not a big deal, guys. Like 2 of them are literally like 2 or 3 sentences. And the other one is literally just like random thoughts I have. It's not even me telling the story of my life. It's literally just random thoughts that I have. Things that I might want to look up. Things that I find interesting. You know. And they're literally just bullet points within a little... Actually, it's just right here. So little bullet points within a notebook. So that's all it is. So you can see it's actually getting a little worse for wear. But... Oops. What have I done? I don't even know what I've done. Anyway, we'll leave it there. So I would do that, and then we would come down and we would have fresh strawberries and blackberries and blueberries in the best yogurt. If you guys can find Moosa, Moosa, day, I believe we had an Australian lady there named Bev, and she told us that, ironically, I guess the guy who started this company is actually an expat from Australia, and it's a slang term for something like happiness, something like, I can't remember what it is, but it was so good. Lemon, berry, peach, salted caramel. Might have had a couple of those. And, you know, we just had such a good time. And then, you know, just eating lunch, sitting around the big table. Like, we could have fit 20 people at this table, but with the amount of people we had, which I believe was 12 or 13, it was just enough so everybody could have like a little space of their own, or people could go and sit on the couch. And so we would just, it was just natural. We would just get out our knitting and we'd gather around. Some people would migrate from person to person when we talk, and we'd just chat across the room. A bunch of us went out and sat on the porch for a good period on Saturday, and I got really bad sunburn. It peeled earlier this week from the first day. So I learned my lesson. So even though like the sun was blazing down, it was cold. The wind was nippy. So we were like, everybody had blankets on them, and we were just trying to, and was wearing long sleeve shirts, but still I got my V area right here because, you know, Emily, I can't wear anything up here. I have to show the cleavage. And so we were sitting out there and just enjoying watching the people on the beach, and we loved watching the dogs just playing on the beach and just knitting and getting to know each other. And really that was the whole thing about the weekend, getting to know people. I came into this not knowing a single soul. I almost knew Kay. Like, I knew her online, and she was simply wonderful and would message me, and we'd be messaging back and forth nonstop. But I knew in person absolutely no one. So I show up to this thing, and I'm a little nervous, but within 5 minutes, I was golden. Everybody was so welcoming and kind, and just, I'm pretty gregarious anyway, and I'm really, really an extrovert. So, and for a long time now, I've been living a life of an introvert. And so, outside of my job and all that kind of stuff. So this weekend really just fed my soul. And I had some pretty traumatic events happen earlier in the week, which precipitated my mother coming down and to Oregon. And so I was able to chat with these women that I felt like were really old friends and sisters. Within a few hours, by the next day, we were chatting about this, and I was able to therapeutically, I feel, you know, talk about these things, and really I just gained so much strength from them. So, and we just, you know, as the days progressed, so Saturday was really interesting because we would just wander in and out of the house. People would go in 1s or 2s or 3s and going on walks, and we'd come back and we'd knit a little bit more. And then all of a sudden, come the afternoon, we were just like, let's learn how to brioche. So Kay sat with a bunch of us down, and we just got out a swatch and started, she taught us how to two-color brioche in stocking net. And which she says people say is really the hardest way to learn brioche, but she found it was more intuitive to learn two-color brioche in stocking net than it would be to learn one-color brioche, which is really how they start you out. And I think she was right, because I tried learning brioche before via a Craftsy class, and I was getting so frustrated. It was one color in the round, and I was getting so frustrated. But within about not even 20 minutes, I was just going gangbusters on my, what's it called? On my sample? My little swatch. There we go. Which I had to rip out because I wasn't using my yarn. Actually, Kay ended up giving me one of these skeins of yarn because it went really well with a project that I was casting on. That was brioche. But it wasn't my yarn, so I had to rip it out. But it was gorgeous. And I was so excited, so I immediately cast on for the shawl that I wanted to cast on, which was not Kay's, but she was really lovely about it, and she even helped me a little bit with it. So that tells you a little bit about knitters and knitwear designers. So, and then the next morning, on Sunday morning, there was one of our crew, Carla. She sat down and was teaching a few of the pickers there, you know, the thrower, the knitters that throw. She was teaching them how to continental knit, and I was like, hands off. I ain't even helping, because I'm just gonna make it a mess. So I'm just gonna let Carla do this. But and then Sunday night, instead of going out, somebody went out and got us a little bit of clam chowder, which I didn't end up eating because I was a little worried. I'm always a little scared of eating other people's shellfish. So, but everybody else was saying it was delicious. So I just had leftovers, which we'd been having. We had so much food, it was ridiculous. But it was really good too. So I just had some leftovers from earlier in the weekend. And then we had a movie marathon, a girl movie marathon. We watched Mamma Mia, which I had never seen, which was really fun, even though I was sometimes a little frustrated because, you know, the song seemed a little bit inserted kind of randomly and in the beginning of the movie. But as it went on, you know, I felt like the songs became more and more appropriate for the content. And so I really enjoyed that. And I love ABBA or ABBA, whatever you want to call them. And I was singing along. Everybody was singing along. It was great. And then only a few of us had seen Pitch Perfect. And I wanted to watch Pitch Perfect 3, so instead of watching Pitch Perfect 3, we watched 1 and then 2, and then by that time I think it was after midnight, but we were having so much fun. Everybody was laughing and knitting and choking on their, a lot of the women were drinking wine and choking because they were laughing so hard. It was awesome. I kept on sitting on Amy's, a lady that was sitting next to me, I kept on accidentally sitting on her yarn, and so she would kind of surreptitiously kind of squeeze her hand underneath my bum and try to get her yarn out, and I'd be like, what? Stop getting fresh with me, woman! So it was, I guess you had to be there. I don't know. But I want to go on another one and another one and another one. If my entire life could be a knitting retreat, I would die a happy woman. Yeah. So I can't wait. We already started talking about next year, and there's a few other retreats that happen around this area that I was not aware of. And then there's even this weekend, there's even a new fiber festival that's happening close by me, but I don't think I'm going to get to go because of the family, which is called Not Another Knitting Retreat. I mean, Knitting Fair or something like that, which I'd heard of, but I'd completely forgotten about. That most of them are going to, and I was like, man, I wish I could go just so I can see you guys again. But it has been, no, it hasn't been lovely to be home. It has in the fact that I have gone to see my mom, but it hasn't in the fact that the trauma of the past couple of weeks has continued. I haven't been able to work very much this week. And as a result, I haven't gotten much sleep. I don't feel comfortable. I know I'm being like one of those jerks that say, you know, that kind of entice you with a little bit of knowledge and then just not tell you anything more. But let's just say it's to be continued. My life is going to see a lot of changes here in the next little while, and I've been struggling a lot, and I'll just say this. So this week when I went to the neurologist, I discovered I do not have vertigo. I have PTSD. And that's causing me to have all of these, not psychological, but my emotional distress is being manifested physically. So, so a lot of changes are taking place due to that. So I don't know exactly what the future will bring. I know a few things about what the future will bring. There's quite a few possibilities that my mother and I have been exploring this week, and so we'll see. We'll see. I'll keep you posted when I feel a little bit more comfortable. Right now, my heart's beating fast and I kind of want to move on. So why don't we just talk about good stuff? do we want to talk about stuff I got at the knitting retreat and other stuff? Or do we want to save that for the end? Nah, let's talk about it now. Okay, so one of the attendees was Catherine, and she is the owner of the Handmaker's Bag Company. And you could call her the owner of Twigs and Twine Yarns. If I can get this to... I guess I just can't get it to focus. I'm sorry, all of a sudden I have the hiccups. But really, if you want to find anything of hers on Etsy, just go to the Handmaker's Bag Company. And let me tell you, you are going to want to go to her Etsy shop. She is a genius. Holy cow. And let me also just add that her photos of her yarn do not in any way capture the genius of her colorways. It really doesn't. So if you are even thinking that you might like one of her skeins, don't hesitate, just buy it and you will gasp in awe when you receive it in the mail. I promise you. I cannot tell you how much. On Saturday morning, it was rather impromptu. Somebody was asking her about maybe a colorway for one of the for a shawl they wanted to cast on of Kay's designs, and so Catherine opened up her trunk that she had brought full of yarns and bags just to try and find something for this one retreat goer, and the next thing you know, it's full on frenzy. And we all just flocked over and everybody was like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And there was a few disappointments. I was kind of a biatch because I grabbed this bag that I'm about to show you, and Bev, my Aussie girl, she really wanted it too, but I just, for once in my life, I was like, hell no, man, I ain't giving this thing up. This one's mine. Because normally I'd be like, oh, I should probably give it over because they want it to. No, this time it was mine. And this is the bag. Let's see if yes. Oh, the beautiness that is this bag. There's a shimmer to it. I don't know that you can see with the roses. There's a shimmer, there's some gold thread running through. And then on the inside, there's pocketses. Let's see if I can. So there's pockets down there. She's got this beautiful turquoise fabric, and sea green fabric, and it's interfaced with something, but I don't know exactly what. It gives it a lot of structure while not making the bag thick, if that makes any sense. So I really like that about this, and she's got a beautiful tag on the inside. And then Catherine pointed out, because I hadn't seen this before, that there's this here, and she made this not to thread your yarn, although you could if you were doing stranded, but actually to hold your stitch markers while you're working on your project bags. I mean, on your projects. And she had, oh my gosh, guys, go to her Etsy shop, because she's got some genius bags in there. And I love the colors that she does with it. And she's got this beautiful little, and she does this one bag that she only had one of. Actually, she didn't even have any for sale. She just had one that she made for herself. But I got to pick out some fabric from mine. So it looks like a French supply bag, but it's so much freaking better. She had no intention of making it look like a French supply bag. It just kind of happened that way. I think that one's called her adventure bag. And she made it so that there's fabric on the outside that you can pin your pins to, like your enamel pins to. But she made it in such a way so there's a flap on the inside that you can then, that then covers the inside part of the pins, so that they're not snagging on your yarn, and they're not going to be forced to be loose. Does that make sense? Just for you to lose them somehow? Because she noticed that was happening a lot with hers, and she's like, you spend a lot of money on these enamel pins. You don't want to lose them. And there was a bunch of other really exciting things about the bag. But every single one of her designs has pockets in them. And the thought that goes into each one of her bags is astounding. I'm sorry, I'm making the camera shake. I don't mean to, but so I was just super excited about that. And this one came with a mini skein, which, let's see if I can find it. Aha, 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 aha. Here we go. Came with this beautiful ballerina pink mini skein. Because technically this bag was meant as a Mother's Day set. But I snagged it. So that's me. Then, on top of that, she dyed up a special colorway. We all got to get in on this and have suggestions about things we'd like to see, and she was just a genius. So she's naming it Weekend Getaway. And this woman is so self-effacing. She's like, I don't know, well, other people want this colorway. And I'm like, are you insane? I would copyright this colorway because, sheesh. I just cannot express to you the amazingness that is going on in this skein. Can you see it? I mean, like, I'm just dead silent. Oh, I'm getting text. So there's these beautiful, like, incredibly deep blues that are almost black. Then there's the turquoise running through it and the gold. Then there's these blips of, I don't know if you want to call them chocolate brown. Yeah, let's go with chocolate brown in there. And it's all speckled and random. And she has some that were softer, and this is one of her more rich colors. And so, skeins, and so I picked out one of the richer ones, and a lot of the ladies were liking a lot of the softer ones. And what she does with each of her colorways is she puts the date of when she dyed them on each one, so that if you're looking to do like a sweater or something, all the ones she dyed on a certain date will be a dye lot. And so that's what people were doing. They were looking for, like, some people were getting sweater quantities of this, and they were looking for all the same dates so they could get the same dye batch and stuff like that. And it was so much fun. Then I saw this, and I just could not resist. My mom chuckled when she saw it yesterday. She's like, it's so you. What is with you? So contrast this with this. I mean, golly Moses. So this one is called Wild Mushrooms. Yeah, Wild Mushrooms. I keep on wanting to call it Mushroom Hunting, but it's just called Wild Mushrooms. And it's this peachy brown on top of the white of the base. And so there's like one or two big deep blips. And then otherwise it just, I love that. It just fades in and out. And the subtleness of this, oh, so beautiful. And the last one I got, I've already skeined up because I'm going to be knitting with it. And the skein is already utterly a mess because I have been doing all kinds of stuff with this shawl and making all kinds of a mess. Let's see if I can't find where I put the tag. Oh, there it is. Okay. So this one is called Wildflowers. There you go. And it's gorgeous. Honestly, you just can't see the complete genius of this skein like this. I can't wait to see it knit up. It's going to go in a brioche pattern that I'm knitting. So I'm really excited about that. So those were the things that I bought at the retreat, sort of. So we didn't go to any yarn shop because there is no yarn shop as far as I know in Lincoln City. However, my girlfriends were talking about a local dyer that I've known about for a long time. I've even seen her around at some of the shows. And she dyes the yarns according to literature. And she takes her inspiration from that and she calls them that. And each time she's been at a fiber event, she's always had Alice in Wonderland colorways. And I hate Alice in Wonderland. I can't stand it. It creeped me out when I was a kid, and it continues to creep me out now. But they told me that they had she had persuasion colorways, and I just decided I didn't even care what the colors were. I was going to get them no matter what. I'm not disappointed. I'm a little disappointed in one of them, but it's not exactly what I would picture Anne Elliott's to be. But this one is Captain Wentworth, and I think it is perfect. Oh, this is by Canon Hand Dyes. She's right here. She's actually just a few little cities over from me. She actually probably lives only about a half an hour from me or less. So this one is called Captain Wentworth. Oh my gosh, the base on this? Oh, I'm so excited about this base. But it's a deep navy blue. It's beautiful. I love it. And then the other one I got of hers, which is called Anne Elliot, is this one. I don't know. Looks a little sherbet to me. I kind of actually want to ask her why she picked these colors for Anne Elliot. I would have picked something else. I would have probably done something a little bit like the Wild Mushrooms, but then with a surprise. Because Anne Elliot, she's one of my favorite of all time. Actually, no, she probably is my favorite character of all time. But she is very quiet, and then she surprises you with her inner core strength. And that's probably what I would have done more. But I am really interested to see how this knits up. So it's out of my wheelhouse as far as colorways go, but I'm not terribly disappointed. I'm just curious to see how it will knit up. So those are the things that I purchased. The Canon Hand Dyes one came midweek, so that was really nice. I thought she was going to have to dye them up, but nope, she came pretty fast, so that was really nice. So on to things that I am working on. So why don't we talk about that sweater that I mentioned that I cast on while I was down in Lincoln City. So Kay has a sweater called the Leaves Shell. And it's a very interesting construction. And it's very, oh my gosh, to see it in person is stunning. Oh my gosh, so stunning. So it's an interesting construction because you knit from sleeve to sleeve at first. And you do the neck opening and everything like that. And then you pick up around to do the body. And this is meant to have 2 to 4 inches of ease. Now, I'm going to knit the largest size on there. And then Kay said that you can adjust the body according to the width that you would like, just picking up less or more stitches around. So I am really excited about this. And I am using Knit Picks Lindy Chain in the Harbor colorway. And everybody was loving this colorway. And a lot of the people there had not knit with this. One of the samples knit up for the Leaves Shell is actually knit out of Lindy Chain. So I knew this would look beautiful. And in fact, that's the one that I loved the most. She knitted in this creamy white, and it's just gorgeous. It's just gorgeous. But I am using this Harbor colorway, and I cast on for the largest size, and I just finished the first little section. The Lindy Chain is hurting my hands to knit with, I will admit. So I am struggling in that way, but the pattern is very intuitive and not a struggle to knit at all. In fact, I think it's very ingenious. She's thought of all these little things and so to make it easier. And so Lindy Chain obviously won't look very good yet until you block it. But so I'm doing the leaves that will be going around right here. And so this is one shoulder, and I'm about to be /sleeve, and I'm about to be doing the neck opening here. So, can you see it? So I'm pretty excited about that. So I've knit about 9 inches. and I like it. I like it a lot. I wish the Lindy chain was a little easier to knit with. It really hurts my hands to knit with it, but I know the product is worth it, so I'm working through it. And I also figured that as soon as I'm knitting in the round with this, it won't be, as soon as I don't have to purl, it won't be as hard on my hands. So I just keep on telling myself, as long as I can get through the top portion and then pick up, I'll be good. So I'm housing this in one of my many Fat Squirrel Fibers bags. This is one of her sweater sizes. And this has everything. This has all the yarn and then some, because I bought lots of extra yarn for this because I wasn't positive how the Lindy chain would work, so I knew I needed to knit a few swatches, which I did. And then also I just was a little nervous, and it was cheap enough, so I purchased quite a few extra skeins, and they're all in there. The pattern's in here. Oh, which almost forgot to put the pattern back in there. All the needles, everything I need, including my gorgeous bag from my best friend for Christmas that she got me, with all of my doodads in here that I will need. And this is who made it. And so my best friend got this for me for Christmas this year, among other things that she made me or got me this year. So that is project number 1. It's well on its way, so I'm happy. Project number 2, I actually cast on the Monday morning as we were all packing up to leave. And I really didn't have much time to knit on it, but I'm really enjoying it. It's a very surprising knit. So it's a pair of socks. It's by Mustache Yarn. If I can get the Mustache Yarn Perfect Sock Self-Striping, and it's in the Afro Circus number 4 colorway. Polka Dot Afro Circus, sorry. So, isn't that fun? It's very surprising. Like, I would not have thought about doing this. Everything is messy in my life right now when it comes to yarn. I am knitting a lot now. I just decided I'm going to push my way through the vertigo. I'm not going to let it hold me down. And now that I know it's not even vertigo, I'm going to push myself even more. So I knit this, the twisted rib, 1x1 twisted rib, that morning. And then I didn't have time to knit on it until yesterday. And I knit all of this, which is not terribly a lot, but it's a good portion, while walking through the museum yesterday. So that was really nice with my mom. So I really like that. I'm knitting these on US size 0 on my carbons. I'm knitting at 60 stitches around. I'm thinking about doing the Sweet Operator Socks heel, but I'm not really positive. I might just do my normal Fish Lips Kiss heel, but we shall see. And I'm housing this in yet another one, another bag that my best friend made me years ago. And this is one of my mushroom bags. Can you tell I have a thing for mushrooms? I don't necessarily like to eat them, but I find them beautiful, especially in the wild. I love finding mushrooms in lichen. Oh, so beautiful. And I've done some hand dyeing with it too, or natural dyeing, if you want to call it that, with them too. And I'm always surprised at what I get. It's great. I've never done it with yarn, only done it with silk scarves. So the pattern that I wanted to cast on while I was there, I'm calling my Comfort Knit. And when all of the trauma started happening last week, and I knew I was coming down for the retreat, I was like, you know, I just want something. The colors will calm me. Everything will calm me about it. But I was in kind of a state, and so I wasn't really reading things through all the way. And so I didn't realize a couple things about the pattern I picked. A, I didn't realize I needed more yarn than I had picked out for the project. And B, I didn't realize it was brioche. So lucky for me, we learned brioche this weekend, because otherwise I would be up a creek without a paddle. So the pattern I chose This is by AndersMill. It is the, what is it? What the Fade color, shawl. And I don't think that image shows it off well. These two show it off well, I think. It's a very, very, very big shawl. And that's what I want. I want something, I don't need it to be done anytime soon. I just want something to knit on to bring me comfort and peace, you know? So that was my goal in this. Oops, I need to put this over with. And so I picked out some yarn and things have changed. And things will probably change again. I'm not completely sold on this set of yarns. But I'm good for now. But as I progress through the project, if I decide that I'm going to switch out a skein of yarn, I'm okay with that. It's going to be fine. So for right now, my friend Kay, the designer, she gave me a skein of yarn because we discovered that it went absolutely perfect as a contrast to my first skein. So I needed 6 skeins of yarn and I only had 5. And so my first skein, see, I told you everything's messy. So my first skein is this, and then the one I'm pairing it with is this. And I don't know if you can see, but there's some gold flecks in my first skein that is really brought out by this. It was really surprising just how perfectly they went together. And I have not knit on it since I've been home, and I only knit on it a tiny bit because I was determined to get a good portion of my sweater done. So and I had to cast this on a couple times because first I didn't like the color combinations, and then I didn't do it right, and now I finally got it. So here is one side of the beginning, and here is the other side with the gold being paramount. So I really like that. And so the other colors that I chose, I'm going to have my wildflower in there. Then I'm also going to have, this is I thought I had this. Oh, where'd it go? My tag. Crap. This is a Hedgehog Fibers that I've had in my stash for a while. And I can't remember the colorway name now because I have no idea. So I thought, see how it brings out the colors in this one? Right? And then I have this one, which is a new colorway that I picked up from Cedar House Yarns, in the Lichen colorway. My mom doesn't like this colorway, but I really liked the contrast between those. And then also, I thought to finish it all off, I would take my special skein from Yarn and You, and I thought these two went well together, like the blues and stuff, but I'm not really sure. I don't know. So this is the Yarn and You in the Japanese garden colorway that she dyed up for me because I asked her to. Because Janine is awesome. So, those, now I'm talking baby talk. So those are right now, my 6 colors that I've got. And it's all housed very, very, with a lot of room in my new project bag. So, I'm going to be knitting on that. And you'll see it come in and out of my works and projects, my current whips. I don't intend to rush this in any way. It's literally going to be when I need to, I will work on it. Does that make sense? When my emotional state, which to be honest, all this week, my emotional state has been at the point where I needed to, but I haven't. So, you know. Then, let's see. I have another pair of socks that I cast on. I think I was, on my last live video, I think I had cast them on, or I was thinking of casting them on. And this was, see, now this one's all messed up too, see? I told you, everything in my life right now. Not just yarn. So this I just got in a swap package. It's a Schopel or Schoppel wool. And this was Admiral R. Druck. I think it might be the colorway. I think I'm gonna have to take the tag off soon because it's starting to rub off with use. And if I want to keep it safe, I'm gonna need to take it off. So this is the color. And I was thinking it was going to knit up a little bit different. And so I was thinking my mom might like this one. And so I cast it on and this is what came out. And I was like, ooh, that looks a little too childish. I don't know that my mom's going to like it. But I showed it to her yesterday and she's like, yeah, I like it a lot actually. So I'm going to keep going on it for her. So I'm just 2x2 ribs, 60 stitches around, literally my easy ones, but I had started knitting these on my brand new Licka, which are expensive too. These cost me, oh, they're not terribly expensive. They're $12 each, and I got my two 6-inch circulars, and this is what happened. It broke. So I got really angry about that. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know if I'm going to contact Licka, whatever their names are. But I just told myself, for the moment, just leave it be because it's just making you angry. I just realized something. I'm knitting it in another mushroom bag of mine. So, also made by my best friend. This one is technically supposed to be a spinning bag, a drop spindle bag, but I just really wanted my mushrooms with me, and so I grabbed it. I think I am going to need to change bags, though, because it's a little awkward. Because the way she did it, there are two pockets, two sections in here, and everything keeps on getting messed up. I don't know if you can see all that. But it's perfect as far as like if I was doing my drop spindling or if I was doing 2-color knitting, because she also meant it for that, but I'm not. Let's see. What's in this bag? I can't remember all of a sudden. Oh, okay. I got a little farther on my fade. What's it called? You know, the first fade pattern she came out with. AndersMill. Sorry, I dropped some. What is it called? Ah, Find Your Fade. This is a horrible picture because my printer went haywire when I tried to print it in color. But I got a little farther on it. And so, oh my gosh, of course I stopped in the middle of a row. And it's a lace row too. So I can't even show you, but so I'm on my Dreamin' Classy skein. I'm on the decreases, so started over here. I started a little late on the decreases. I was supposed to start when the color shift happened here, but I didn't realize it, and I just kept on going, and then I realized it when I was looking at the section for the next lace repeat, and I was like, what the hey, I'll just start it here. I don't care. So I'm on that. I got a little farther on that. And so I've got a couple more. I'm going to need to leave this out because I need to finish that row and make sure that my knitting does not go crazy. But that's been on the needles for over a year. We're not even going to talk about that. I only got a tiny bit further on my cross stitch from my mother, my counting cross stitch from my mom. And I actually showed it to her yesterday because I told her I don't know when I'm going to get it done, if I'm going to get it done for Mother's Day or not. But I got some more of the sky done. I'm still loving it. Didn't get to knit on it at all at the retreat. Didn't feel like knitting it at the retreat. I mean, working on it at the retreat. I just wanted to knit. So that's what I did. So that is what I've been working on. Now, yesterday while my mom was here, I'll just end the show with this. Yesterday when my mom was here in my house, randomly, I asked my mom if she would like to go through my yarn stash with me and pick out some yarn specifically for her. And she said, well, what do you mean? Like, I'm going to take it home? And I'm like, no, just pick out things that you like so that I can make projects for you. And you don't have to pick out the projects, or you could say, oh, I'd like a shawl out of this skein or something like that. And so my mom is so silly. She has a hard time asking for things necessarily, even when she wants them. And I'm kind of in the same boat, but I really forced my mom, like when she would say she liked something, I would just immediately take it out of my stash and put it in a pile. And then she had to go and narrow the pile down, which really annoyed me because I'm like, I kept on telling her, I have no plans for this yarn. So whatever you want to pick, go for it. And I'm going to knit you something out of it. So one of the things she was really drawn to is a Gale's Art in the, oh, what's the colorway name? I forget. Crystal Blue Persuasion colorway. So she picked up this one. And then she picked out another blue from Lolo Did It in her Everyday Socks in the Don't Stop Believing. Hold on to that feeling. Colorway. Let's just really just don't stop believing. Then she loved these, which I was glad she did because I don't. But it finally gives, I don't even know why I bought these. These are so not my colors. I don't know what I was thinking. It's Plymouth Happy Feet, and I do love Plymouth Happy Feet. I knit a skein of theirs in socks, Plymouth Happy Feet in the crayon colorway earlier this year, and everybody was loving it. Or maybe it was last year, obviously, 2017. So this one does not have a colorway name. It just is color 10, lot 2893. This is a very old Plymouth yarn. Don't know how old, but I know it's old. I've had it in my stash for at least 7 years. So, and I knew it was old when I bought it too, because I think I bought it in a discount bin. Then she picked out the Creative Obsession in Date Night. It's got some sparkle in it. It's got a few blips of black. And then she picked out, I was really glad she picked this out because I think I bought this with her in mind. So she bought the Moon Rover sock from the Wild Company and the Bray Burr. I'm going to have to just show you that. That's the colorway name. And this is the colorway. And she knew exactly what she wanted me to knit with her for this, which she has this beautiful black peacoat that she wears in the wintertime. And it suits her so beautifully. It gives her, I mean, she has already got beautiful lines, I think. I love the way my mom looks. But it just makes her look so sophisticated and lovely. And I knit her it's not this colorway. It's a brighter jewel tone of a blue, but it's close to this. Of a lace scarf a few years back, like 5 years now. And she loves it, but it doesn't pop against the black coat. She wanted something that popped. So she asked me to make her another scarf. And I can pick whatever I want. So I'm probably gonna, I don't know what I'm gonna pick up. But I want to use every ounce of this. Every gram. So probably another lace one. I would like something a little bit more graphic, but at the same time romantic. And then the last one she picked, I'm pretty sure I'm going to do, actually I have no idea what I'm going to do with this. I don't even know. So this one is from Knit Sonic Designs and the Gem and the Holograms colorway. It's got a little mini skein to go with it. Here's the, and then the info. So there you go. So she picked out all those, and I now have a basket that I have set aside as my mother's yarn basket. And the next time I feel like casting something on for her, which is pretty frequently, I feel like casting things on, I don't follow up on that feeling. But my mom is very knit-worthy, even though she doesn't think she is, because she has felted quite a few of the socks that I've knit her. I don't care. I still like knitting for her because she loves them. She feels so good when she's wearing them, she says. So I'm going to be knitting her some more stuff. I asked her if she would help me pick out some things for my sisters, but she didn't feel really comfortable with that because her style is a bit different than my sister's and my style. So you know that shawl that comfort shawl that I picked out for me to knit, those colors are more my sister's colors. And I knit and those are also my colors, but I also tend to knit, like, see my shawl hanging on my wall back there? Those colorways I actually dyed up. They're from my old yarn store that I had. But I tend to like a lot of pops of color, bright colors. But then I find a lot of comfort, and I keep using that word, in the more muted tones. And so I dye up a lot of muted tones too. So like the sweater I knit this last winter with you all, that had a lot of muted tones, I felt, but it was still classy. I just wanted to share one thing before I sign off. I ordered this book. It's a new book called Resilient. It's by Rick Hansen, who's a very well-known psychologist in the field. I really like him. I read his first book, Buddha's Brain, which was also a collaboration with another psychologist as well. Neurologist, I think, was the collaboration with that one. This one he's collaborated with his son, Forrest, and this one is a lot more readable. The Buddha's Brain is a lot more technical. It's a lot more, I feel like, geared towards people who are very familiar with the tradition of Buddha, but also people more in the field like I am. So, but this one, Resilient, I am really, really, really enjoying. It's a really easy read as far as self-help books go. It's really enjoyable. He doesn't use a lot of jargon. In fact, I listened to an interview that he did recently, and he was saying that his son was telling him, it was so funny because his son was telling him he needed to use more common terms. But so Rick said, so I use things like, I would use things that are very much phrases within the psychology field. And all of a sudden I can't think of the term he used, but I'll just use something to do with mindfulness, or, you know, like that. And he would say that, he said in the interview that his son would say, no, can't use that word. You got to unpack that a little bit more. And I just started laughing during the interview because I'm like, I'm sure your son didn't say you got to unpack that more, because unpack that more is also a term that we use in the field a lot. And so I'm sure his son didn't use that word. I don't know why I found that so funny. I'm sorry, guys. But this I was really excited about, because if you're at all familiar with Brene Brown, she talks a lot about vulnerability and resiliency. And she talks about how there are people in this world who, well, resilient is a term used for people who see trauma, are able to weather the storm and able to go on with their lives, not necessarily unchanged, but emboldened maybe, maybe even shored up. They find a better life for themselves. They don't become victims of the situation. And then finding the vulnerability within that, the people who are resilient are also able to be very vulnerable, because they're able to express their, it's not their weaknesses, but they're able to connect with other people through their own experiences. Now, that's a wonderful thought process. What I have found and have been very frustrated with is that there is no discussion about whether there's some hypotheses that maybe you're born being resilient, or it's about how you are brought up in your early stages of life. We talk about secure attachment to your caregivers when you're a baby that can help you to, that can cause people to be resilient later in life. We talk about those things. But then I think to myself, well, yes, but see, you're making this a key word for people in the self-help world, I guess you would call it, to make it as their goal of, I need to be resilient through this process kind of a thing, right? But how do you do that? What does that look like? How do you, if you feel like you're more becoming swept up in the trauma, or maybe coming into the role of victimhood, how do you break that cycle and start building the foundations of resiliency? And I feel that way also about this whole movement about self-love and self-compassion and self-care. I get really frustrated sometimes because these are words that therapists are throwing out there to people, but we're not teaching the foundations, or we're not assisting people in building the foundations within themselves. So I'm overstating it, but this is how I feel. So I've been a little frustrated with it. And with building up those building blocks within yourself so you can reach the summit of self-love, self-care, and self-compassion, or being resilient. So that's what this book is about. It's not about those other things. It's about being resilient. And he talks about like the 4 pillars of being resilient. Where was that? So, the 3 pillars, I'm sorry. Resourcing, regulating, and relating. I think, no, it was the 3, there was a 4, because recognizing, resourcing, regulating, and relating. So he talks about all those things, and he unpacks those things within the book. And it might sound like, what the heck is Emily talking about? But within resourcing, it talks about the pure grit of being resilient, and about having gratitude for things and finding confidence within yourself and the world around you. So that's finding, so we talk about finding resources, like building up resources around you, maybe reaching out to a therapist, that's a resource, right? Reaching out to your best friend, that could be a resource, or support group, if you will, if you want to call it that. So, but that's how he's terming that term, using that term resourcing. So I really want to recommend this book to everybody. I got the hardcover book, and I am actually thinking, because I'm so into this book right now, I'm actually thinking about also getting the Audible version too, so I can listen to it as well, because this is a book that I'm going to want to read over and over and over again. So I'm really excited about that. Well, I have gone on now for well over an hour. Thank you guys all for joining me. It's good to be back in the saddle again. And in fact, that'll be this week's, this episode's name, Back in the Saddle Again. So thank you all for joining me. I really look forward to seeing you again very soon. And remember to knit what you love and love what you knit. Take care now.